How did the struggle for liberty lead to a reign of terror in France? This question takes us back to the late 18th century, to a France steeped in inequality and discontent. The French Revolution, a seismic shift in the annals of history, began as a popular uprising against the monarchy, the Ancien Régime, in 1789. The monarchy's extravagant spending and the nation's crippling debt had left the common people in dire straits. Bread, the staple food for many French people, was scarce and outrageously expensive. It was a time of hardship and hunger, where the disparity between the privileged few and the suffering many was starkly evident. This social and economic inequality sparked a flame that would engulf the nation, leading to the French Revolution. The revolutionaries sought to replace the old social order with a new one, based on the principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity. They overthrew the monarchy, signaling the end of centuries-old royal rule, and established a republic. Yet this was not the end of the upheaval. In fact, it was just the beginning. The socio-political climate was still volatile. The republic was under threat from external enemies and internal divisions. The revolution had not yet delivered on its promises. The people were still hungry, still dissatisfied. And in this atmosphere of disillusionment and fear, the Terror was born. The Terror was a period of extreme violence and political purges, during which thousands of people were executed by guillotine. One of the first and most significant victims was King Louis XVI himself. Accused of high treason and crimes against the state, he was executed in January 1793. His death marked a turning point in the revolution. It was a clear message that the old order was gone and a new era had begun. As the guillotine fell on King Louis XVI, a new era of fear and violence began. The Terror was now in full swing, and it would leave an indelible mark on the history of France and indeed the world. What happens when the guardians of public safety become the agents of terror? In the tumultuous times of the French Revolution, the Committee of Public Safety rose to prominence. Formed in April of 1793, this committee was initially created to protect the new republic from foreign attacks and internal rebellion. However, it soon evolved into something far more sinister under the leadership of Maximilien Robespierre. Robespierre, a lawyer and politician, was a steadfast believer in the principles of the revolution. He was determined to protect the republic at all costs, even if those costs included the lives of his fellow countrymen. Under his leadership, the Committee of Public Safety adopted a policy of mass execution to suppress any perceived threats to the revolution. The committee wielded the guillotine like a sword of Damocles, hanging over the heads of anyone who dared to oppose them. Nobles, clergy, and commoners alike were all potential targets. In their eyes, anyone could be an enemy of the Republic, and thus a threat to public safety. This period of mass execution, known as the Reign of Terror, resulted in the deaths of tens of thousands of people. The Committee of Public Safety justified their actions by arguing that these drastic measures were necessary to protect the revolution. They claimed that the guillotine was a tool of liberation, freeing the people from the chains of tyranny. But in reality, it was a tool of fear, used to silence opposition and maintain control. Ironically, the Committee of Public Safety became a threat to public safety itself. They used the power vested in them to protect the Republic as a weapon to instill fear and maintain their reign of terror. The very institution that was supposed to protect the people became their worst nightmare. The Committee of Public Safety, in their quest to protect the revolution, plunged France into a state of terror. Can you imagine living in a time when even a whisper could lead to the guillotine? A time when loyalty was a matter of life and death, and suspicion was as potent as a death sentence. This was the reality during the height of the terror period of the French Revolution, a time that saw thousands lose their lives in the name of perceived disloyalty. The guillotine, a chilling symbol of swift and unrelenting justice, claimed the lives of many, from the lowest peasant to the highest nobility. The streets of Paris were filled with an air of apprehension as the blade of the guillotine became a constant reminder of the price one could pay for straying from the revolutionary path. One of the most notable figures to meet this fate was Marie Antoinette, the Queen of France herself. Once a symbol of the monarchy's extravagance and disconnect from the common people, her execution sent shockwaves through the nation and beyond. It was a clear message. No one was safe from the clutches of the revolution. But it wasn't just Marie Antoinette. Countless others, notable for their influence and standing, were also led to the guillotine. Philippe Égalité, a member of the royal family who had supported the revolution, was also executed, demonstrating that even past loyalty could not guarantee safety. The Girondins, a political faction that had initially supported the revolution but later turned against its violent methods, were also swept up in the wave of executions. As the terror reached its apex, the guillotine became more than just a tool of execution. It became a symbol of the revolution itself, swift, unyielding, and merciless. A symbol of the price of freedom and the cost of dissent. The rhythm of its blade served as a grim metronome, marking the passing of time with each life it claimed. The guillotine became a symbol of fear as the terror reached its pinnacle. A stark reminder of a time when the pursuit of liberty was tainted with the blood of thousands, and the price of revolution was paid in human lives. What led to the fall of the architect of the terror, Maximilien Robespierre? In the year 1794, the man once hailed as the incorruptible Maximilien Robespierre found himself walking the same path to the guillotine that he had sent so many down during the Reign of Terror. The events leading to Robespierre's downfall were a mixture of political maneuverings, public sentiment, and perhaps a touch of poetic justice. By the summer of that year, Robespierre had made numerous enemies within the French government. His insistence on virtue and the purging of those he deemed corrupt had rubbed many the wrong way. Not to mention, he had spearheaded the Reign of Terror, a period marked by mass executions, all in the name of defending the French Revolution. But what really sealed Robespierre's fate was his speech on the 8th of Thermidor, where he hinted at a new purge of the Committee of Public Safety, the governing body of France at the time. The vague threats in his speech alarmed many members of the committee who feared they might be next on Robespierre's list. The following day, the 9th of Thermidor, Robespierre and his followers were arrested. There was an attempt at resistance, in which Robespierre was shot in the jaw, but it was futile. He was declared an outlaw by the revolutionary government, meaning he could be executed without trial. On the 10th of Thermidor, Robespierre was sent to the guillotine. His death marked a significant turning point in the French Revolution. The Reign of Terror, which had claimed the lives of nearly 17,000 people, came to a swift end. The Thermidorian reaction followed, easing the revolutionary fervor and leading to a more conservative phase of the revolution. And so, the architect of the terror, who had once held the power of life and death in his hands, met his end at the hands of his own creation. With the fall of Robespierre, the Reign of Terror came to an abrupt end. How does a period of such immense fear and violence shape a nation? In the aftermath of the terror, France was irrevocably changed. The revolution had begun with high ideals, with the promise of liberty, equality, fraternity. Yet, the terror had shown the French people the dangers of unchecked power and ideological fanaticism. It had shown them the cost of their ideals, paid in blood and terror. The ideal of a republic, once so brightly shining, was tarnished by the blood of the guillotine. The terror had left a deep scar on the French psyche, a wound that would take generations to heal. France, once the heart of the monarchy, was now a nation wary of absolute power, of tyranny, of the price of revolution. The political structure of France was also deeply affected. The Reign of Terror had culminated with the fall of Robespierre, and with his fall, the Committee of Public Safety lost its grip on power. What followed was a period of instability and power struggles, as different factions vied for control. The people, weary of bloodshed and chaos, yearned for stability, for peace. This would eventually pave the way for the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte and the establishment of the French consulate, marking the end of the revolutionary period. Public opinion towards revolutionary ideals also shifted. The French people had seen what radicalism could lead to, and many began to question the wisdom of such drastic change. The terror had shown them the cost of their ideals, and many were not willing to pay that price again. The legacy of the terror was a deeply traumatized nation, a nation that had seen the best and worst of humanity, a nation that had tasted the bitter fruit of revolution and found it wanting. The terror had shown the French people the price of liberty, and it was a price many were not willing to pay. The terror, a dark chapter in the history of the French Revolution, left an indelible mark on the French nation and its people.